what are you talking about? Of course I want to repaint. What's that?
That's right. And when you're doing it, that's one thing. When you teach it,
be careful with what you tell me. And a lot of times I'm going to pause you like,
I know about your business, about Monarch Roofing, that's different than most roofing contractors, and the way they do their business is mainly,
Jim, they accumulate over time, and they accumulate. After a while.
You're listening to the Roofing Success Podcast, a show created to inspire roofing contractors to achieve optimal success in their roofing businesses. I'm the host, Jim Aline, the co-author of the books Internet Marketing for Roofing Contractors and The Best Known Roofer. I'm also the co-founder of Roofer Marketers, the leading digital marketing agency for the roofing industry. On each episode, I sit down with industry leaders to talk about their processes, the lessons they've learned, and how to find success in roofing. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. As always, hit that subscribe, share, comment. I say as always, but you guys don't do it. So it's really not as always, right? So, do that for me just this one time. Comment, subscribe, leave a review, depending on where you're listening to it, over on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you're watching this, listening to this. Drop a comment. Back again is the man. He's on his way to infamy in the roofing industry. I want to tell you this. He is on his way to infamy in the roofing industry. Today, from Monarch Roofing, again, Martin Pettigrew. How are you today, brother?
Doing great, Jim. Thanks so much for having me again. And what an honor to be here with your podcast and help some of your great listeners. And you're right, man. It's kind of crazy because we said, there's a great quote from John Maxwell. We said, I do it. He's a servant mentality, right? He says, yeah. I do it, you watch me. You do it, I'll watch you. You do it on your own. And the magic happens on number 5. If you have somebody, when you teach them, they do it to teach others. But the key there, when you're talking, it didn't say, I talk to you and you do it. It says, I do it first. So it's That's so hard when you're trying to preach, it feels like a lecture. And people say they remember 5 to 10% when it's lectured. So when you have to do it with somebody, subscribe and send a comment. If you could do it with people, it would be so much easier, right? But that's a little nugget with, if you're a business owner or in leadership, to do it with. Quit talking it. Do it with.
I love that. And another way I've heard it a lot of it in my life, learn, do, teach, right? So, and when you're doing it, that's one thing. I love that when you teach it, you get to learn it on such a different level. And that's really what I think you've done here, Martin, is you wrote the book now. So the roofing machine, dominate your market through an inside and out business structure. That's what we're here to talk about today with Martin Pettigrew. Martin, why did you write a book, man?
Great question. One night I come home and I just feel like this talk is cheap, and I like to have a challenge. So if you challenge me on something, I'm probably going to do it. Be careful with what you tell me. And a lot of times I'm going to pause you, please don't finish your sentence because I'm going to have to do what you challenge me on. But I just felt like a talk is cheap. I want to impact people, and I think that greatness is how many people you can serve in your lifetime. We're here. It's not going to be the money. Everybody talks about that's how money you bring in. It's really how many people we can serve. That's greatness. But I'm I want to help roofing contractor on what we've done to be successful. But then I'm talking it. So one day I'm coming home and I said to my wife, I say, honey, I got a great idea. It's 9:00. Roofing contractors can relate to this. And I said, I got a great idea, honey. I want to write a book about what I've done, and maybe I can help somebody out there. Maybe not, but at least I'm really pushing effort towards serving. She's like, Martin, my wife is very straightforward, Jim, and you're married, so you can understand. Yeah. So she's a logical person. She's like, Martin, there's 2 problems with that. I said, 2 problems? What do you mean? I said, no problems, only solutions. She's like, first of all, how are you going to write a book when you're working 90, 100 hours a week? You're never here. When are you going to do this now? You're going to add this to your plate? I said, honey, you're right. You win 1-0. And the second thing, she's like, Martin, you can, I hate to say this like this, but I don't want to offend you, but you can barely speak English. How the hell are you going to write a whole book in English now? So it's double the energy you're going to need. Not even it's going to take time, but it's going to be double the time. So she was right. It took me a lot of time, but writing the book was a pleasure. Phenomenal. I tried to put out everything I could to make it informative on things that I learned. And when I learn things from other people, I put it in there so that way they can learn But the key here, another one, the challenge you were talking about, I invited Dmitry Lipinski to our office in, it was like in May, just a Facebook message. And Dmitry came over about a month later to do a tour. And while we're doing the tour, I told him about like, hey, I'm thinking about writing a book. And he challenged me. He's like, yeah, you should write it. You should write it before the roofing process.
Conference, yeah.
Before we come, and I want to get your first copy. I'm like, oh yeah, I have plenty of time. It's in May. It's going to be December, but I had to write the book by then. So that was, he had the first copy. There was a lot of energy, but he probably doesn't even know that he challenged me like this. I had to get it done. I was not showing up in Orlando without this book written because I knew I was going to see him at all costs. I'm like, I got to have this book ready.
I was just reading something today. I was reading it was an article. I can't remember exactly where it was, but I was just reading an article today, and part of it was that it talked about the longer your deadline, the more you will allow yourself to procrastinate, right? Like it's a crazy thing. So having we have to have this. We did the same thing for our second book, for the Best Known Roofer book. One of the conferences was coming up, and we wanted to have it ready for that conference. And it was like, oh man, it was the mad scramble all the way up until getting everything dialed in, getting editing and proofreading and getting the artwork done. But we did the same thing. We got it done, and it's part of writing a book is a good thing. Like there's something to it, and it's that you have to think about things in such a deeper way. Right? You have to think about things in such a deeper way. One of the biggest things that I know about your business, about Monarch Roofing, that's different than most roofing contractors and the way they do their business is in their sales process. So chapter 2 is the new way to view sales. You talk about in here, I highlighted this. Since it is so hard to find the right fit for sales, why would you want them to do anything other than sales activity? That was an aha moment. Like, of course. Like, why do you want them doing other things? Right? We focus on that in our digital marketing agency. Everyone has their role. We have a very similar structure. Our salespeople don't run ads. They don't do that, right? Even our account managers don't fulfill the services. We have teams specifically for those services. So let's talk about your kind of the new way to view sales and how you guys have how you put that together.
Yeah, great question, Jim. And I love the way you mentioned it. And I think everybody kind of knows that. Like a lot of things in the book, when you read it, you're probably like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. I knew that. But I'm kind of, my goal is to allow people to know that they're a little voice, because we think too much, man. We start thinking, and then you watch TV, you watch the news, and then it's fear, right? Because we're built to survive, not to grow. So that social life, the media, knows that. So they're going to attack something that you might not feel like you might be, your survival role might be maybe hurt, right? So they put a lot of negativity out there. They said fear is a false event appearing real. So they're pushing that a lot. So I want people to understand it, like when I'm writing the book, like it's coming from the heart. Like what I feel it was hard when we started because I couldn't really talk to anybody about doing inside sales, outside sales, the concept of the roofing industry, because most people, if they did have it, they wouldn't tell me they did it. So I couldn't really go anywhere. So I really had to rely on my gut feeling and my heart to be like, okay, it feels right. I'm just going to go for it. If it fails, I failed many times anyways. I have nothing to lose. I started out with being Marty and the caddy, right, with a Cadillac. So I have nothing to lose. I'm going to try it anyways. In going through and make mistakes and coming back, and that's one of my biggest fuel about doing this. I don't want people to take 15 years and having to work 80, 100 hours a week. Can bring this back and bring good people in our industry. It can work 50, 60 hours a week, right, instead of being so hard. But the inside sales out, I read a quote, not a quote, but a graph from Grant Cardone that was showing that 36% of outside sales activities are non-sales related. I'm like, this is crazy. I'm not, my outside sales, they spend a lot more time doing sales activities. And I'm starting writing it down. I'm like, wow, bringing material to the job site when the guys are short, doing follow-up call after the job is sold, do door to door, do BNI groups, networking, doing final inspection when a job is completed. There's so many things they were doing, like they're sales related. So we did exercise on the whiteboard, Jim. I just put 3 things on the board. I said, I want my outside sales to do only 3 things and 3 things only. Meet homeowner, presenting, and doing inspection. So that's it. And that can include adjusters. So it's 3 things. And everything else, I'm going to find somebody else to do it. For 2 reasons, like you said. Outside sales, first of all, they're really hard to find. Somebody can climb roofs, can be charismatic, woman, and be kind of somewhat organized. They're elite people, as it is. And we pay them a lot of money. So if we pay them a lot of money, if we can find other position for people that are more entry level, but they qualify, work in air conditioning, 8 to 5, it's a lot easier to find somebody like this than somebody that can do a lot more hours working on roofs. So it solved that problem of, first of all, retention I can get to, but it solved the problem of attracting the right people by making manageable hours. So imagine this, I know you're in sales, but when I was in sales, I wake up a lot of times at 2 a.m, like, man, did I send a text message to that homeowner? Did I send that estimate to that homeowner? Did I return that call, that email? So I don't want that stress. And those little, we call them crumbs, Jim, they accumulate over time, and they accumulate. After a while, it becomes too much, and that becomes negativity. And when people start to fail at any jobs, doesn't matter. You come in the office, you forgot to send 5 emails yesterday, and I'm walking in and say, Jim, what happened, buddy? You missed 5 emails. Now I'm creating you cortisol, negative hormones inside your body. You don't want to be there anymore. You start showing up late, and all of a sudden, 3 months later, you're a bad employee. So we fire you or you quit. So we want to build positivity in everybody. And since we started doing this with inside sales, do all the follow-ups, the biggest complaint for outside salesmen is follow-up. So we take that away from them. They still have to do 20%. So from 36% outside activities are sales activities. Now it's about 80% are related to sales activities. It's still a 20% they're doing other things, but it's been helping, and we can retain people. So it's not even to hire people, it's to retain them for a long run.
And that's the amazing part of that's the goal, right? Like it's not just that you want to have a good employee inside of your business, whether they're on the sales side, production side, whatever it is. It's giving them a path, right, and allowing them to grow and do that. It's hard sometimes, though. Like you were saying that people end up doing tasks that, one, maybe they're not good at, right? So but then on the other side of things that aren't moving the business forward, right? When we think about sales activity, that moves the business forward. So when they have to go and pick up materials and drop it at a job site and do all these things, that's taking away from sales activity, right? I talk to a lot of newer company owners, and sometimes they're like, well, I don't have a lot of money to invest into my business. I said, well, you have time. So when you're driving from job site to job site, how many phone calls are you making? Right? When you're, are you knocking the doors around, are you knocking the neighbors while you're in the neighborhoods, right? If you find yourself with an extra hour, are you, driving for dollars, right? Where, going and finding roofs that may need replaced. Like, you can always be doing sales activity. When you separate that sales activity as you've grown, right? Now, when you have an actual business, when you're not self-employed, when you have an actual business, I love the way that you're separating these roles into individual roles. And so now that outside salesperson can really concentrate on those activities that drive the business forward. And then you have the support for them.
Yeah, Jim, it's kind of like it applies to every single position, by the way. I use a lot in the sales in the business, but so imagine if you're, and I know you understand all this, but if you're like doing 2 or 3, 4 activities. Okay, this is extreme. 3 activities, that's your job description. Awesome. Most job description I kept adding on to make a long job description just in case I need something to be done that's not in there. Well, I already told her everything, right? Big mistake. So, but if you take elite athletes, we put elite athletes, the best in the world, on pedestal. Like they're icon. I want to be just like Michael Jordan. I want to be like Tiger Woods. I'm a big golf fan. But Tiger Woods does the same activity over and over and over and over and over repeatedly. That's his mission, every single activity he's going to do. He asks himself, okay, what I'm about to do, is it going to help me win championships or not? If the answer is not, he's not doing it. The answer is yes, win championships, I'm going to do it. And it's probably 80-20% the same thing towards his main thing. So we look at business in roofing. It's very confusing. First of all, a lot of people say, well, it must be boring to do 3 things. Because I do an interview, somebody's like, I say, what do you like to do the most? Oh, I can do anything, Martin. I work for you. I'll do like whatever, computers, outside, inside, follow-ups. I'll do some inspection. I can go on roofs. I can do everything. These are called, there's GOATs, greatest of all time. These are JOT. They're jack of all trades. I don't want a jack of all trades. I want to have somebody that's very like a Dennis Rodman, very specifically to that one position. Because I know if I take Tiger Woods to play hockey, let's say, I know I'm going to beat him in hockey. He's going to crush me at golf. But at hockey, I'm going to crush him. But why is those 2, 3 activities not boring? Is because they're starting to win. And people talk about culture, winning culture, winning culture. If you start to win, Tim Grover in Relentless talks about this constantly. Tim Grover, coach Michael Jordan, Dwayne Wade, Kobe Bryant, elite athletes around the world. He says, you guys don't understand. He says, you can become passionate about something because you have skills for it. You're kind of good at it. And what you're built for, by the way, the disc assessment is a big one. What you're built for, then you become what you're passionate about because it's going to come to you naturally. But he says, passion is nothing. It's like, you got to get over that. Once you start winning about something else happens because winning is very fulfilling. And when you get fulfilled in life, what else is there? Whatever fulfills you, activities, you start winning. He said, then there's something special that happens. You win. Obsession takes place. When you become obsessed, that's how you turn into Tiger Woods or, I mean, I don't know if you watched the All of Fame speech for Michael Jordan.
I didn't get to, no.
Oh my gosh. I promise you, man, I watch this. I'm like, this guy's coming out of retirement. He's like 50 years old. He's coming back in the NBA. He can't turn it off. Like his language he's using, like it's terrifying. Like he's a monster. This guy's phenomenal. Really like in a good way, but he's so obsessed. Like you can never go back. So when you start doing it's a little bit like you play sports in a losing team. I don't know if you play any sports growing up or in a team.
Yeah. A little bit. Basketball. I played basketball growing up. And then after that, I got more into individual sports. I got into like kickboxing and jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu and things like that. And boy, that will teach you about winning and losing.
You bring me to another thing. It's like it's black and white, right? There's no excuses. Kickboxing, you hit in the head, you lose or you win. It's 1 and 0. Right. So, I wish we're a little bit more like computers. Like, yes, you do activities or not. But I played hockey, and then when I was growing up playing hockey, I played on a losing team. And Jim, I hated every single player on the team. Like we were pranking each other. Like we would start showing up late to practice. We didn't care about tournaments. We just want to go to next year. We didn't want to be there at all. But the year after, I played in a winning team where we started winning, and the craziest thing happened. We started all the kids, we started hanging out together, became best friends. And then we started calling each other to play hockey. In Canada, there's like everything. Where there's a church, there's an ice rink that we frozen. So we started practicing, call each other. Hey, we doing after school tomorrow? Let's go practice or play 1, 2, 3, whatever it is. So we became even better because we starting to get addicted. We love to win, and all we want to do is win more. So having the least amount of activities, it's helpful to create win because once you do the same activities. 2, 3, if it's 5, it's 5 in your business. It doesn't matter. I'm making 3. Maybe your business, they can do 5, 6 because it's not there yet. It takes time to make the progress. But the least amount of activities your employees will have, the more successful they're going to be and more smiling they're going to be, the more fulfilled they're going to be because they're going to start winning.
Yeah, I love that. And that especially, I mean, and you could create those wins in kind of their performance metrics on an ongoing basis for people who are not in the sales team. The sales team is always like they feel those wins, right? But one of the other things that you've that you guys have done is you've changed the mindset in your company from the traditional commission driven sales model to a salary sales team. Speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, and it was a definitely transition. I had an opportunity when I went back to, everybody talks about like you got to work on your business, not in your business, right? But I think it's a little bit cliche. Like, I don't know if you had, in my opinion or experience, 3, 4, 5, 6, you can work on your business. You're in it, man. You're doing everything, most of everything. You're leading the business. So you're always on. There's always somebody calling you. You cannot just like, all right, from 3 to 7, I'm going to turn off my phone so I can do some on the business activities. It's going to blow up. So my opinion, it was about 12 million is when somebody can have a general manager. And that gives you the opportunity to work on the business to make those process, procedures, structure properly. So in 2018, I was able to do that. And it really exploded the company. For 6 months, I did not have to work in the business. I had a general manager for all 3 locations. And I was able to implement a lot of things. And one of them we found out is if we have a team, it's not like if you go to the mall, let's say. You go to the mall and then somebody, and I know we don't go to the mall that much anymore, but when you go to the mall, somebody is trying to sell you a cell phone, they control the whole transaction because you got to do the marketing. Say, hey, come over here. I got something special for you. You got to get your attention. Marketing's attention, then they sell to you. They show you the feature and how it's going to make your life better. And then they produce in it. Hey, let me get you a new phone here. And then there's the warranty. So they do the entire machine into one person. That person, okay, commission. I get it. It makes sense because if they don't push, I mean, if they run the whole business. But with the roofing machine, each person has a specific piece of the puzzle. Nobody's like the pedestal mindset of having a salesman up there by themselves, and it's hard because I know if you're a business owner, you're like, yeah, they're so arrogant, they're selfish, self-oriented, pretty Madonna, all those 4 things, exactly what we need in salesmen. That's who we are for sales, because that's what sells. You want an emotional guy that can, because we sell an emotion, right? We buy an emotion, we make sense through our brain, through logic, but it's an emotional sell. So we want these people to sell to us. So they're right people. We just set it up wrong. And what we find out, and it wasn't even from sales, it was from superintendent that started happening. But whenever we start paying per activities, a little bit like a commission mindset, for superintendent, I said, all right, superintendent, I got the greatest idea. It's like 2014, 15. I said, I'm going to pay you for all your activities. So that way you're excited, can make more money. So if you return a bundle of shingles at the supplier's house, you get $1. If you do the inspection, you get $15. If you get there on time, it's $10, medium, whatever it is, like ton. 2 monster problems happen. First of all, accounting want to kill me because there's like $5, $10, $15. And the guys want to kill me too because at the end of the week, they were like, hey, you're missing $5 from last week. Like, $5, bro? Like, I'll give you $100 now for all the $5 I missed the next 3 weeks. You know, it didn't work. Yeah. But the crazy part, one day, one of the guys, I said, hey, you missed your inspection for the job we finished yesterday. You got to go back like today. What happened? Say, oh, no, don't worry about it. I'll give it to somebody else. They can make the $25. It's like, what? No, you need to do it. That's your job. Your job needs to be doing the inspection when the roof is completed. It's required by Monarch Roofing. No one needs that. So the lesson here is that if you pay per action, the action becomes optional. I didn't want that. I said, this is wrong. If that happens, and we see this with salesmen's got a monster month, they do, let's say, $1 million in sales for a month, then it's not even their fault, Jim. It's behind their brain. We don't understand totally our brain, right? But the next month, they'll show up to work. They're going to have a smile on their face, but their energy, just like you were talking about, are they really checking all the box when they meet a homeowner, or are they taking a couple shortcuts? Mm-hmm. They're starting to be not so engaged mentally, and their sales goes down. And then when that happens again, now they start losing. Now they come in the office, like they have to pretend, make a big shield. They're starting to come in late, and the mindset change. They're bigger in the business, it becomes negative. So I said, I got to change something. Something's got to be different. So by splitting all the position, inside sales, outside sales, production coordinator and superintendent, we can talk about this for hours on this, but the structure. Yep. But inside sales, outside sales, the best way I can describe it, the phenomenon that happens is they're working together. Okay, I got to get, whenever I'm interviewing people, it's not about like some of the questions. I said, what are you passionate about? What's your motivation? Your economic engine. That's part 3 of what you're passionate about, what you're built for, what's your economic engine. What they're motivated by, it cannot be, I want to make money. It's got to be, I want to serve. I want to serve. I'm passionate about helping others. I want to serve. If that's it, and there are 2 others factor fit in, now you have the right person. You place that person, okay, I want to serve as many people as possible with an inside sales. Now they're working together. Every single leads that come in, they're responsible together to sell every single job as a duty. And it goes back to the mission. We can talk about this, but it's a duty. And now you have an opportunity to create a winning team. It's a little bit like you watch a golf tournament on Sunday. It's great to watch a golf tournament on Sunday, any given Sundays. It's great. I love golf. I love golf on Sunday. That's what I do around 5, 6 o'clock, whatever. But then when you watch the Ryder Cup, something magical happens. The emotion. I never seen, golf is not supposed to be so cool. Like, it's not supposed to be so cool. Guys are jumping around, they hugging each other, high-fiving, or they're crying. It's one or the other, right? So the team that loses is crying, the other team is jumping around. So when you have this inside sales, outside sales, now it's not outside sales doing everything on a pedal stool. They're doing together with inside sales. They're starting to hold each other accountable for each win, and they celebrate together. And at the end of the month, you talk about rewards. We have a belt. It doesn't matter what you give, but instead of doing 1 belt for 1 outside sales, it's 2 belts. 1 for inside sales, 1 for outside sales. They both win together. So they both celebrate together. So the one-man show, like, we're really removing this from the entire puzzle. They understand that they need each other to really maximize everything.
Yeah. And that working together creates that reliance on each other, and they need each other, and they understand the value of each other, right? And that a lot of times there's, without that gap, without that piece, what I like, there's always a clash between sales and production. Right? Like, no matter what business you're in, if you're in roofing or in our business in digital marketing and in anything that you're doing, there's always like sales is celebrating. And a lot of times the fulfillment team is like, oh man, another one. And did they get a good customer that we can work with? Because now we're going to have to be at that person's house and talking to them. And did they set proper expectations? Are we cleaning up their mess? Right? Like, but now the outside salesperson, the inside salesperson, and since it's an inside role, do they have more of a connection with the production team? Do you feel too?
Yeah, I mean, it helps a lot to dot all the I's. So before the job is approved, we have like a set of 7 documents that needs to be completed, with the homeowner, and then it goes to data admin. But inside sales or outside sales are responsible to get that together to that person. But simple things like production sheet, when you're in front of homeowner, what do you write it down? Do you just listen to homeowner to cover the pool in the back, and he's got a Japanese maple tree, whatever, in the front to be covered? Yeah. He just got it. Like, don't park on the driveway because he's got it stained last week. Like, so we have in the production sheet, while we're in the presence of the homeowner, the production sheet gets filled out. So the homeowner sees, like, we're not just going to listen and goes one ear to another. We're taking notes. So that needs to be filled out. Also it includes like drippage color, shingle color, start date. So there's a lot of information there that goes to, when it goes to production coordinator, they know exactly what's going on, what's going to happen, because it's a lot of hands. You need to have it's not like a verbal communication at that point. Like, communication is a lot of different things. It needs to be a writing communication that can go to one person to another. And you talk about teamwork. I think if our mission is not customer service, we talk about customer service. And I wish we could erase customer service from all the language, because really, if you're doing everything right, you don't need customer service. It should be customer acquisition. Customer service comes in after. There's no customer services. There's no customer acquisition. You need to sell roof. It sounds very like Grant Cardone, 10X, dominate, but it is kind of it. If you believe that your mission is to provide homeowner what they deserve the best, and you believe your team can do the best installation, warranties, and services, you got to be greedy, man. You got to sell roofs. It's your duty. And then if your superintendents have that same mentality, okay, every week I'm giving you an idea for a scoreboard is to generate leads. Superintendent can, one person that's on the job site the entire time the job gets done. It's not a overhead for us. We count it as a marketing tool because they will knock doors. They would introduce themselves. They would give pizza coupons for free. They're going to give a contact point to other homeowners. So if there's one home that's bad, other homes will be bad. And we send mailers, there's a lot of other things. But their full mindset is to help the team sell more roofs. So salesmen, they understand that the best leads, they're coming from those guys on the ground, on the boots. And you're right. Sometimes, like, if we blur this line and we're trying to get Google ads and marketing, it's great, branding, billboard, everything else, about 10% closing rate. They work. We need those. Okay, we need those mostly for branding. Social media, like, it's a branding tool. It's awesome. So when they see you, they said you need between 5 and 12 touch, like our scene, before you can close a deal. So if you don't have social media, you're dead. You need to have branding, mostly branding. But these guys that are on the field, so our salesmen, they really understand that I need to get leads from superintendents. So they're referrals. I need referrals. When they knock on the door, hey, we're doing Mr. Jim Smith's house across the street, then it's game on. We can get one. So our outside sales are always, and it's not that easy, but we want to make them to be close and grateful, bringing gifts, little coupon gift cards, to the sales team, to the production team, because they play a massive amount of importance to make the sales. The closing rates on referrals are over 70% for us. So
exactly, and that's where the companies that I've said that I say this all the time. The companies that I know, the owners personally or are clients of ours, the best companies are the ones that can turn one into many. Right, like those are, and having the processes in place. Whether it's like, I know John Brosh and Ty Meredith up in in Pittsburgh and Morgantown, like they have a very detailed process of the morning of we're doing this, the day all of these touch points and things to layer on to getting those additional deals. You guys have changed that a little bit to now the job site supervisor is doing some of those activities, some of the door knocking and things like that. But then the salesperson comes back in. So it's essentially like a referral from that job site supervisor. I love the loop that you're creating with that. But it's making sure, first of all, it's just making sure that all of those things get done. Right?
Yeah.
Those are the most important things. What you said, the lower closing rate on, maybe a Google ad or a billboard or something like that. Like, you have a lower closing rate, but that gets you to that one job. Now see what we do with this one job, right? See what we can do with this neighborhood. See how many referrals we can generate from this one transaction. That is the most impactful thing that I think you can do in your business, because if you're not focused on the long-term value of each customer, you lose. If you're just chasing the next, you're losing.
And I read a great quote quote with Jeff Bezos. He says, and you're thinking like Jeff Bezos got all the technology now. He's passionate for innovation, makes long-term decisions, but his focus is obsession for our customers, not customer service. And again, superintendent, their goal is flawless installation. So they got to do the roof properly, but that's a given. That's your job. You're there all day. To really become a good superintendent because you become one, becomes three for that job site every single time. But Jeff Bezos says it doesn't matter what you're focus on. What we want to do is it's not about website. It doesn't matter how you do marketing. What he wants, the only thing he wants is to get referrals. He said, I win the second I tell Jim, you know what? I got Prime on my account on Amazon. I get it in 1-day delivery. You're like, what? As soon as I speak about Amazon and obviously in a positive way, Amazon win. He said the word to mouth is the most powerful thing at all marketing. That's what I want. But like you said, of course, if Amazon cannot be found online and you cannot find how much it costs and nobody's responding, there's a lot. But the triggers to get referrals, that triggers everything.
For sure. And so now really what that part of that, I think, and you had mentioned customer service. Customer service is reactive. right? Like customer service, when you're providing customer service, you are reacting to something. It may have been in your book or it was in another book. I'm reading a couple at the moment. I just finished yours and I'm in the middle of a perfect, what's it called? Let me see here. Never Lose a Customer Again is another one that I'm reading right now. And I can't remember, it's all blurring together, but they talk about customer service and customer experience, right? And the customer experience is what you need to focus on, not the customer service. Because again, if you are focused on customer service, you're reacting to problems. If you build a customer experience, right? They start with your outside salesperson, then they're speaking with the inside sales team or salesperson, and those two are working together. And then now they're making the handoff to production, and now your job site supervisor is taking over. And right, there's this experience that's happening all along the way. How do you feel the role, like the culture that you've built has played a part in the way that this is managed in your business?
Yeah. And again, the culture, like people talk about culture all the time, but just taking the time, I think one of the biggest thing is to focus on one thing. Like we're really like, it's kind of crazy, but you go ask anybody in Monarch Roofing, hey, what's your mission? It's customer acquisition. It's so simple. It's so simple that everybody can remember that. Like you're not going to forget that. People I'm looking at a lot of, I'm talking like this because I got a couple contractors. I'm thinking that we do coaching. And when we interview with them, say, hey, what's your mission? Like, oh, my mission. Yeah, I got a mission. Okay. What is it? Well, hold on. Let me call Tammy. Hey, Tammy, can you bring up the mission? And then she's in a drawer somewhere down upstairs. She brings it out. Like it takes 20 minutes. And then they read it. There's no way, like the mission's not for the owner. It's not a business plan you put in. Like it's got to be something we see every single day. We got to remember. So our mission is to provide homeowner what they deserve, the best installation services and warranties. But it's every single person ask themselves before they do an activity, and we can dig into this, but what I'm about to do right now, is it going to help the team get more customers or not? It's simple. Very simple. I'm trying to simplify the machine's very simple, but then so somebody's going to make should I make a phone call to this customer that we're going to start a job tomorrow or not? Is it going to get us more customers? Yeah, it is. If your production coordinator, make the phone call. Hey, Mr. James, I want to let you know that Nate is going to be finishing up the job at 11 instead of 1. It's going to be a little earlier. So everything you can do to make the experience 10x, over promise, over deliver, and over promise. I think that should be the mindset for this. And the growth, my gosh, Jim, you open up a lot of ideas, but growth is so powerful. People miss that a lot. When we start with the introducing everybody in the company, okay, we call it crown training. The crown training have to understand part of the mission, why we're talking like this. It's so important to be growth oriented, because if we do 3 million this year, do 3 million next year, do 3 million the next year, and we do 3 million next year or the year before, what's going to happen? You're going to come to me, Jim, and goes, hey, Martin, I need a raise. Where's the money come from? Like, I can't hey, maybe technology is better. Maybe we increase your price. You increase your price. You sell more roofs. You might be selling 2 million. I don't know. So you got to grow the company. And I'm telling you this because it really got me frustrated. One contractor really got me really mad in Tennessee. And he's very proud. Jim, he's like, Martin, you know what? I got a great story for you. He's like, I know I'm a great leader. And I'm doing the right thing for my team. With my salesmen, I teach them everything. And then they go and start their own company. I'm like, dude, like, I want to punch you. I'm so mad. Like, what are you talking about? I won't say his name, but I said, you are the problem. You need to be better yourself, because people, they get everything, and now they plateau. There's a glass ceiling right there for them. Uh-huh. They have no place to grow because your company is the same every single year. You need to start growing yourself so you can understand it. You need to hire and promote. You need some leadership, because if you go from 3 to 6, you double your company. You're going to double the amount of people, so it's going to be some leadership opportunity. And even if it's not a leadership opportunity, when you have growth, you have more money. The company makes more money, there's more profit, there's more funds for HR. Great, your budgets are bigger. Awesome, we can promote people. So everybody needs to understand that. They're a superintendent, they need to work harder. That's very important. They need to work harder on themselves than they do their job. So before they start at 7 o'clock in the morning, spend 30 minutes listening to something that your company should provide or have a motivational, inspirational self-improvement book. Read The Roofing Machine, of course, but there's so many of Jim Rohn, Eric Thomas. There's so many great. Just put motivation on YouTube. You can learn and get better yourself to start out with. And that's why I love the book Relentless. We give it to every single new employee, Tim Grover Relentless, because it starts there. If you don't have that mentality, and it allows you to become different, because when we do, every single company is different, but it allows you to become different and listen to your inner voice instead of start thinking too much.
Yeah, for sure. And so now the concept in the machine is to have a very specific person for a very specific role. And we've talked about that a little bit more on the sales side, but also, you have your job site supervisors. You have very specific people for very specific roles. And how you do your crown training and things like that. I learned this from one of my coaches. It's like at a point in time in your business becomes a hiring and training organization, not the business that you're in, right? Not in roofing, not in plumbing, not in, whatever it is, e-commerce, whatever you're doing. It's not that anymore. There is a certain place where you become a hiring and training organization. How do you hire for success? Because that is what I think there's such a limiting. People are so afraid to make that next hire. So let's do this instead of just how to hire. Let's start with when to hire, and then let's start with when to hire.
Okay, Jimmy, I love what you just said, because the biggest eye opener we had, we talk about hockey's curve growth. So we always had growth every single year. We never went back, and we went from, let's say, from 6 to 7 million to 12 to 13 to 17. And then the hockey stick curve started happening with 17, and we went 25 to 43. But we always, it's always going like this. It just went even more. But that's when we started understanding this. And that came from Greg Wallach, and he's Best Roofing in Florida. Phenomenal guy. I had 30 minutes on the phone with him, and that's what we came up with. He said, Martin, you need to start training, recruiting, and implementing your structure, the roofing machine, because I was talking to him about it. What do you think about that? He's like, you just do it.
Do it.
Yeah, but he's like, you need to hire, not like if we fall into this for training, especially, we're like, hey, we all know that. Like, I'm going to take somebody with me to start training somebody. Say, hey, no, I got this. I'm going to clear my schedule for the next 2 weeks. I'm going to train a new person. And then what happens? The phone rings, and I'm like, you know what, Jim, go train with Mike. Well, Mike might be our number one salesman, but he might be A on sales, but he might be a D coach, and he's busy. Right? He's busy. He's got to do his job. So whenever there's a question, hey, man, I got to pick up my phone. Hey, great question. I'll talk to you a little bit, or I'll put you over there, just read. He's got to do his job, especially if they're commissioned. Like, no, man, I got to make my money. So training is hiring a trainer or having a company. That's why Riva, that's what we do, right? We coach roofing companies on different position, inside sales, outside sales. And then the recruiting, okay, 3 things. I read a great quote that says, leaders spend 10% of their time recruiting and 90% of the time making up for recruiting mistakes. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm hiring 10% and keep 1. Yeah, that's pretty much it. But it costs so much money, so much more, and it's hard to put a number to it, right? It's like, how much does it cost to hire somebody? Yeah, 2 months it don't make you money for 2-3 months. Even though the money comes in, it's just got to pay for training, onboarding, the t-shirt they got, the trucks, whatever it is, the time you had for recruiting. So I read this book, Good to Great. And in there, they talk about head job concept and applied it for recruiting. So it's what they're passionate about, what they're built for, what is the motivation. What they're built for, especially if you're outside sales, like you got to climb roofs. So on the 3rd interview, we get him on the field with one of our sales guys that doesn't throw up information, that can hold it in a little bit so he can find out really who the person next to them is. But a lot of times we find out crazy things. First of all, like sometimes they want to go on roof, but they're like, oh man, this roof is too steep and it's a 612. Like they don't know. They want a job, right? When you apply for a job, I want a job. I'm not there I'm trying to convince you. So I'm going to tell you yes for everything. And then we have people smoking, we don't have a policy on smoking. And it's first interview, we talk about this, is no smoking. We had a guy falling asleep, so doing with on-site interview, it's always been beneficial. Get with your lawyer to have some agreement or some waivers, right? So if we go roof, so you don't get in trouble. But we use the disc assessment. I think that's a great cheat code. Easy to do. Each person in the disc has different personalities, but it's really what their brain's built for. And it's really hard in interviews to identify that. It really is. You can have some questions. I can ask you a couple questions, fill it out. But I'm looking more for what they're passionate about during the interview. And then the disc tells me what they're built for. If you have a person, I'll give you some example, but I don't want to make any disc look bad, but each one of them, we call them superheroes. So each letter, the DISC, is a different superhero. They just got to be mature. If they're immature, it doesn't matter what letter they are. But we hire specifically based on that. If my second interview, the disc doesn't match, I'm looking for them to place in a different position, not for what they applied for. Sometimes it happened many times. We hire for outside sales. We end up doing marketing for them, and they love marketing much better. They just thought that they were built for that. When you start talking to them, like, actually, you know what? I would like to do marketing and talk more instead of closing more. Big difference. So if you want to do a 1, 2, 3 on marketing, we do group interviews. So we bring, especially for sales, as many people we can. We describe to them for 30 minutes what the job is. We do Calendly, Indeed, Link. And then after the 30 minutes, and they like what we just told them about, we do a 10 minutes interview. And then there's 2 things you have to do. Schedule the second interview with Calendly, and you got to do the disc. I'm not meeting anybody if we don't have a disc assessment. And it used to be me. I did over 4,000 interviews, even till late last year. I was still doing them. I still do some now when they invite me to be nice, I think. But and then we do a second interview with leadership, and the last one's on the field.
It's important, right? It's important to understand. I like what you're talking about, what they're built for and what they're passionate about, right? Like those two have to align with what you need them for in your business. And a lot of times people don't even know what they're built for. That's where those personality assessments like DISC, we've used Kolbe in some of our hiring. There's predictive index. There's a few different ones that they just provide that extra layer of understanding about the candidate, right? Like, and now when you understand the role, what you're looking for in the role, and the person who's built for that role, when you know who's built for that role, how did Monarch determine this is the best, this is an optimal DISC profile for a specific role? Was it trial and error? Did you take I've heard of, how did you do that, I guess?
Well, try and error is definitely was my go-to. I like to do it sometimes overthinking it a lot of times, but we did. And first of all, we took our employees. So when we found out about this DISC, like you said, there's a lot of different things. We give it to everybody, and then we set up the profile to our sales guys that were doing the best. This is what we're looking for. But even that was not right. We changed it over time. We thought it was one personalities that can talk to people. We thought it could be close by with homeowner, connect and create a relationship with them, but we were wrong. I think that works. It's called it's more like a farming mentality. It goes good for, like, let's say you do new construction, repeat customers, awesome. Or commercial properties, like you got to go back. It's just, you got to build a relationship. That's great for that. But what we want in tear off, roof removal, roof re-roof, you want hunters. You want somebody that's going to come in and want to serve the homeowner. Because people don't call Monarch Roofing because they want to get a friend. Yeah. That's, come on, man. And it's level 101 in sales. Like, you got to break the ice. I get that. Absolutely. We need to be friendly with a homeowner. But if you want something out of somebody, are you going to be a asshole, or you're probably going to be nice anyways, right? People are really nice to us when they do interviews. We never met a person that's not nice in interviews. Same thing with meet homeowners. They're going to be nice. I mean, that's a D personality. If they're that big on the D side that they cannot connect with people, then we don't hire them. There'd be something wrong. But we want somebody that's thinking, how can I help this person? Because people, again, they don't have time. They have their own friends. They have their own things. Especially, now you have a younger generation buying homes right now. They're busy. They're working. It's not just all retiree, right? So it's about serving, not about talking. They said it right. The talking is listening is the sell, not talking.
Listening. That's right. for contractors, I think they hit this roadblock on hiring, and you expressed it well in the book. And it was really three excuses, right? The first excuse is not having enough funds. The second excuse is that you can do more than the employee can. And the third excuse is that it's not a full-time job in your company yet. Walk through each of those for me.
Yeah, it happens quite a bit, and I'm seeing this a lot, especially we have the budget, can I afford that? It's weird. I had to work two jobs for longest time for first 5 years. I was working at that parking cars just to make means. So I didn't have any money. So I totally get that. Didn't have roofing experience, didn't have construction experience, didn't have business experience, and did not have any connections or funds. So it will start from nothing, right? So. But you got to make the jump a little bit. I think if you're going to be at 3 million or more, like if your goal is this, if you want to stay at 1 million, maybe you can wing it yourself. You can wing it yourself for a very long time. I think to 6 million, you can do a lot yourself. You can do probably all the sales, but it's not sustainable. When I say like I want the company, I think the magic number is over 12 to 13 million right now. But it's if you have a structure, you can sell 12 million, hire 20 salesmen, you can sell 12 million, but you're going to be in so much chaos. It doesn't, you want to get out of it, right? That should be your mindset when you build your business, not to work on, to work on a business. So the first people I would hire, 3 million, doesn't matter. I don't care about the money, make the jump, find ways to get money, and I can explain you some. But I would hire a superintendent, somebody to be on a job site that's a waiter right now at a bar or at a restaurant. Somebody could be customer service that's got the skill. The desk, I'm not too worried about that. I want somebody that's got a little bit of skill that wants a career. Waiters sometimes make a lot of money, so it's tough, right? But you gotta understand that where they're going, they can have some opportunity to grow with your business. And then I would do a production coordinator, somebody that can order materials, schedule the crews, connect with the homeowner to make sure that we are making the phone calls so we can have the obsession for the customers. And it looks like we have a big business because when they're in production, they know when we're coming, when we're leaving, the warranty's filed properly. And then the inside sales. Inside sales is critical. So if you're owner, because you wear all the hats, you can work with them closely and you can build those templates for email, text, follow up, because you'll work with them. You can have every morning, you can have a list of duties for the day. So they can do activities that's going to help you sell. I'm saying this because I think it's very important that owners, in my opinion, I don't care what your disc is, I would keep that to myself as long as I can, because owners, we have a special power that I thought I was the greatest salesman ever until I find out that homeowners, psychologically, again, I can't really explain it, Jim, but whenever somebody walks in your home and then they sit down with you and you find out they're owner, it's like a click. It's almost like, Linda, come see this guy Jim. He's the owner of the roofing company. They want to see you. They don't say that, but there's something in your brain that the table switch a little bit. They want to impress you more. And they know if they deal with the owner, it's going to be taken care of more. So I keep that for myself for one reason, so I can control, and sales is probably the most important part of business. That's a business. And it's probably the most difficult one to train on. So you're going to have to spend more time yourself with that person to train them through the whole process. The other position, if they have office position before, they can be organized for production coordinator. That's inside position, by the way. They don't do outside, inside sales. And superintendent might take a little time, but superintendent's key because it provides you referrals. So it's got to be thinking about referrals and not have to worry about busy work. And like you mentioned earlier, right? It's not busy work. I need to make my activities to be sales. If I'm the owner, I need to do sales activities.
So finding the right people and then hiring the right people in an order, right? There's kind of an order to it as your business is growing. That this all leads into, what would you say to that contractor who is like, I can't afford that next person yet? What's your mind state? I mean, not what would you say to them? How do you make a calculated decision on making that investment in that person?
Okay, well, to have a little bit of budget, so we plan on having 11% roughly for overhead for HR, so employees. So if I'm looking more on the growth than looking backwards, so if there's a hailstorm that hits Myrtle Beach
Hmm.
tomorrow, I'm going forward on hiring people, even though the accountings will be like, you're crazy, we don't have the money for all these people, but I'm seeing the opportunity, and that's where
Yeah.
entrepreneurship is crazy.
Yeah.
Because how many times I get this conversation where you have managers, we have 3 managers that will look more, so some of them, they're all a little bit different, but some of them will look more like, well, no, I got a budget for this year. We plan on doing this much. And like, no, we're going to double now. Your budget just went out the window. I hate budgets because of that. It just went out
Yep.
the window. So be able to adapt to what's coming. If you're going through the winter right now and you don't have much money, like, don't go crazy, man. Like, you might have to do it yourself a little bit. But I promise you, every single time, Jim, I said, you know what? I'm just going to control it. I'm going to do it myself. It's going to be fine. Something crazy happened. I'm like, crap, I should have kept hiring.
Yep.
Especially sales guys. And if you're owner, you always got to be hiring. Probably some of the best stories I have about hiring is people that I met, either as a general manager at King Kong, Mark. That's how I found him. I used to go to this place. I didn't even like sushi. It's a sushi place. I didn't like sushi. I was going there every lunch because I'm like, I need to have an interview with this guy. I don't care what it's going to take. I'm going to eat lunch as much as I can every day and ask him questions about this sushi. And that's how we start connecting and he start working with us. He's a phenomenal guy. But the people you meet, you're probably the number one recruiter for the longest time,
Mhm.
because if you don't have, unless you hire other companies to help you with recruiting, then you're
Yep.
stuck yourself. How are you going to do all those interviews? There's no way. I'm talking about like outside sales will do 100 interviews for one. I'm going to do 100 interviews for one person. Who you think is going to have the best team? My team or you? Like, it's going to be crazy. It can't compete with this. But if you meet people, you'll find some very special people over the years. So
Yeah,
if you want
for
to,
sure.
I think you, again, take the jump, man. Believe in yourself, and that's one of the most underrated skills. I think is to believe in your vision and what you are doing, and ask. Like, there's a lot of ways to money should not be cannot afford it. Money should not be the essence. There's ways to save money. There's look at what you're spending money on. There's ways you can save money. There's some people that maybe don't belong in your company that need to be removed, or they don't have the right personality. Remove them. They be cancerous. There's a lot of things there. And then you have other things like suppliers. If you go sit down, imagine if you take 10 minutes, go to distribution and say, hey man, I got this plan. I want to go from 2 million to 6 million in my next 12 months. And here's what I'm going to do. I want to hire those 4 people. I'm going to wrap my truck and I'm going to hire a superintendent. I need some money. Can you help me? Can you give me this for billboard, truck wrap, social media marketing to save me some money? They're going to help you. People will help you if you're
Yeah.
serious. Business is serious. There's too much coolness out there and people trying to ease button done by others. Take the time to have one-on-one with distribution and manufacturers to really put all
Manufacturers.
your eggs in one basket. Don't spread it out to all distribution. We had to do it this year because of COVID, last year because of
Yep.
COVID. We didn't have material, but before that, only one place. And when we hit 3 million, we made $1 million in sales for the distribution. We started being on the radar. Like, oh man, you made $1 million. You want to? And it came to me, John, they wanted a rebate. I'm like, what are you talking about? Of course I want a rebate. What's that
That's
look
right.
like? And we'll give you a percentage of what you buy. Like, how does this happen? Is this Christmas?
That's
This is
right.
crazy. Yeah, and I know people know that, but a lot of small companies they don't reach. You do a billboard, don't pay for any marketing that's not giving you referrals. That's my advice. That's simple. You're gonna make a decision. All right, is this gonna give me a referral or is it gonna give me a lead? If it's gonna give you a referral, pay for it out of your pocket. I'm talking about
Mm.
superintendent, truck wrap. Like they gotta look professional on their job site. Let's
Yep.
get this guy tools, superintendent, boots, whatever. Make him look good. But billboard, social media, radio ad, they all work. You'll need that, but get help with that. That's easy to send a ticket. That's tangible. You can feel it. You can see it. You'll have distribution and manufacturer will help you with this. The guy that's on the job site, pay that guy well because you can't quantify it.
For sure. And I think that like a lot of times it's just we get hung up on this, but an easy way that I've always looked at it, and you could tell me from wrong, or what your thoughts, but like it's if it will free up more time, especially as you're growing, right? If you're still doing sales, you want people to free up your selling time. Or on the other side, if you are more of an owner that works in the production side, that's where you're comfortable, then you're hiring sales to feed so the more salespeople you can hire essentially to match your production capacity, you're feeding it. And that's where the money comes from. Money comes from sales. And that's what I like about, you guys are a sales organization. What was it? What was the mission of the company? You said it earlier.
Customer acquisition.
And if you just simplify it in that way in your hiring decisions, will this hire assist with customer acquisition? I love that. As you grow,
Jim, you mentioned this. I'm pretty passionate about this. I think there's a lot of owners right now that are production mindset. They're productive mindset. But I think one of the greatest skill of a leader is sales.
Mm-hmm.
Because how are you going to grow your business now? And your sales is so important. There's so much energy to be put into sales. And I really believe that, and I got lucky because I was able to do from scratch, right? I didn't come in business at 2 million. I came in from zero, so I can understand every single aspect of the company. It took longer. I get it. It was 15 years, but I put all the the groundwork to understand what works, what doesn't. And I did every single position. But I think, and Tony Robbins talks about this, is you got to do what you don't want to do. It doesn't matter, but you got to know so much about it. Then you can train somebody on it. He didn't say you can hire somebody to figure it out. I see a lot of owners that are production minded, hey, I'm going to hire you. You're in sales, figure it. You're going to have to learn it and work with them at the bare minimum to build it. So and again, that's why I'm even if you're production mindset, I think it's just a confidence level, and it's something you need to learn anyways, so you can grow your business to other level. Imagine when you have 20, 30, $100 million business. That's where you got to think about. Don't think about 6 million. Come on, man, that's depressing. Let's go hard, because then your brain starts think at a different level. You'll read a book. If I say, hey, tomorrow, Jim, I want your business to be $7 billion, you're like, all right, I want to read about Jeff Bezos a little bit more, Yeah. So, but you're going to need Jeff Bezos. I don't think is a great salesman. When you listen to him speak, it's not that charismatic, but he's one of the greatest salesmen ever, right? Same thing with Elon Musk. He can barely speak, but he's the most, I think, brilliant salesman ever. Steve Jobs, the same way. They were not great salesmen, but they were the best salesmen ever. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Not traditional sales. The experience that they create and the energy and the way that they speak with their passion about their products, and
you just nailed it.
And that's what is very informative. I also think that sales is not something that you do just for the customers. I think that marketing either. I look at marketing and sales like you're not just marketing to your customers. You are marketing to your prospective employees. That is a marketing and sales effort. I was just I read another book recently called Who. It's a kind of a hiring structure, a hiring process. And so it's a great book about recruiting and finding the right people. But one of the steps in their process is selling the candidate on working with your company, right? It's a part of sales and marketing. Selling your inside sales team and your whole organization on the mission of customer acquisition, right? There's sales from a leadership perspective. I'm with you on that. I love the way you said that. From a leadership perspective, you're almost always selling, right? Is that kind of what?
Yeah, you do what's more difficult, do what sucks. I like to say that. You do what others would not want to do. So show up early, leave late. You have to have some charismatic, that's a danger when I say charismatic, but it's productive activity. People say Omar, why are you so smiling all the time and so excited? I'm like, yeah, you need to have passion. You come in, obviously watch a video, we do a 3-month accelerator package with a roofing machine accelerator. And we spend 3 months with the company, and then we do 12 months after that. But we come in and we do videos with them, and it's energy, and we're jumping with we do the handshake, and the energy that's created, it's hard to describe. But people are like, wow, what just happened? But they keep it going after, it'll last. But then we need leadership to keep on. But if you're not excited about what you're doing, you're not going to, history teacher in college or high school, I was always falling asleep because they know the information, but the way they provide it, it's so like. That's why, like, I don't know if you've seen the Savannah Bananas. They're phenomenal, right? People know about these guys. They're crazy, but it's a show. It's entertaining.
Yeah.
So that's how you can learn. So it's not. I'm not smiling because I want to be smiling. If something doesn't work, I'm excited because we're winning. When you're winning, you're excited. Yeah. But it's productive activity, positive productive activity. That's more important.
That's awesome. So now, as you get, I think you talk about the stages of about 3 million, 6 million, 12 million, 25 million. Is that correct? Kind of the stages. And was it at the $12 million stage where you feel that the general manager is an important role? Is that there?
Yeah, and I think that's the magic. I think that's that everybody that's less than that should really work on building the machine, the structure. There's again, you can do paper fire, sell 12 million. I'm going to hire 20 salesmen there. We did $43 million and we had between 12 and 14 outside salesmen. So It's 3.5 million on average. Like you go to any roofing company, like, all right, one salesman can do 3.5 million. We have 3 that were over 5 million. So, and it's going to be even more this year. It's awesome. But it's not a quantity of people. It's paper fire otherwise. I want people to stay with my company, so the right structure. But at 12 million is great because it took us to go to 17 million because I started 2 other division. I started Wilmington and Hilton Head. So it could have been at 12. I just decided to go a little crazier. So, but that's when you can have somebody that you build, don't hire, in my opinion, build somebody that's been with you for a while, that's growing, that shows up early, that works hard, that's listening, that's implementing, that speaks your core value language. We touched on this a little earlier. Core values are critical. They're becoming like you. And then you can promote them to general manager. You can remove yourself. At 12 million, you'll have the budget to do it. You can remove yourself from the day-to-day, and then it's crazy. It's not like, oh, now I'm on vacation now. No. Now you can work on your process, your procedure, your machine, your structure, and see where the holes are because you're going to be working fully on the business. And that's where I was able to create the machine and then year and a half later write the book.
The way you put it in the book I liked was that the owner's the visionary and must focus on customer obsession, right? Like 3 things: customer obsession, passion for innovation, and long-term thinking. And then the general manager then is focusing on creating opportunity, managing the money, and protecting the company's reputation and setting proper expectations. And that's when you are able to focus in as an owner and become obsessed with the customer and the customer experience and the customer journey. The referrals, you're fueling the referral engine that's happening. With your team boots on the ground, right? Like it's a whole cycle of everything. I love what you're doing here, man.
It provides you time too, Jim, to like, okay, what postcards? Like when I'm in this position now, I'm like looking deeply in how we do things. So like we send postcards for we're installing. Like, hold on, now I'm like, what's the card look like? Why is it now somebody on there? People love to see people. Is there referrals on there? There's no referrals. Let's change that. Let's get a handwritten notes now. Okay, let me do some research on that. Keep working what you're doing. I'm going to get a Max writer to do a handwritten letter so we can send it to the neighborhood. Good. It keeps little things. It's not like completely changed, but it's more. It goes faster than 1% every day now. It's more.
Iterations on what you're already doing, right? It's version 1.1, 1.2, 2.3, right? You continue to build. Phase 1 to me is do something. Phase 2 is do something a little bit better than that. Phase 3 is do something better than that. Phase 4, you just continue to do something better and better. And I love the way that you've done this, and I appreciate the book, and I'm sure the roofing community appreciates it. How can people find what you're doing on an ongoing basis?
Okay, for the book is on Amazon, and actually you can get it in Spanish now, the Spanish version. So, and the Audible is getting recorded this week in Spanish. So I'm looking at probably a month before it's out on Amazon for Audible. So we're gonna have Audible in English, Spanish, and I feel terrible, Jim. Don't tell anybody, but I'm French, and I didn't do it in French yet, so that's coming in Frenchies. Riva or Riva Impact on social media. I mean, Instagram is pretty fired. Anna, Darius, Mark, they all participating. They do a phenomenal job. Look me up on LinkedIn too. I do a lot of posting on LinkedIn and trying to bring value to the content. So.
Awesome, man. Well, you're bringing a lot of value to the industry. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. If you would like to generate more revenue through your digital marketing efforts, please visit roofermarketers.com to get a copy of the book, The Best Known Roofer. Also, check the training section of the website for guides on everything from running effective pay-per-click ads to how to properly set up your Google My Business listing. Thanks for listening.